Progress.
Alrighty, I see many of the participants have flowed in. So without further ado, let's get started. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. It's Gary again, Product Marketing Manager here at Hillstone Networks, back again with another webinar. Today, we'll be discussing the Web Application Firewall, or WAF for short, and how it can help secure your web applications and APIs. Cybersecurity initially was largely focused on protecting the perimeter and the network layer. But as technology continues to advance quickly, threats are beginning to emerge in the application layer. In fact, almost all applications nowadays are web-based applications. Because these apps can all be found through the internet, hackers can hijack these front-facing applications, causing businesses to not be able to necessarily function properly moving forward. Traditional network firewalls can provide security up to layer 4. Next-gen firewall capabilities are now able to provide mediocre protection at the application layers. IPS and signature-based devices are also able to protect, but have limited ability when it comes to protecting against unknown threats and protecting against web application threats specifically. To compare this simply, you could say an IPS stops a specific person and the others stop specific persons, whereas the WAF can stop a specific behavior. Only a WAF can extensively defend against the OWASP top 10 application layer threats and be site and application aware. An example of what the WAF can stop is brute force attacks. After all, if someone is trying to perform a dictionary attack, WAF will be able to oversee what the user or likely bot is doing and notify the admin of suspicious behavior, and furthermore, even begin to limit the user's or bot's privileges. Another example is stopping credential stuffing. Credential stuffing is when attackers will steal your credentials from an application that was potentially vulnerable and use those same credentials to log into a different application. This vulnerability can be exploited because even though we ask others to have good password habits, fact of the matter is, many people use the same password for multiple applications. Part of our signature database allows us to check back against all known credentials that have been stolen. As such, if someone is attempting to credential stuff and utilizes a set of credentials that exists on our database, our WAF can be set to notify or stop, depending on the configuration you implement. As you can, oh, I'm sorry. My screen keeps on blacking out a lot. Okay. As you can see, Hillstone's WAF offers comprehensive security coverage from the beginning of the security lifecycle with auto discovery of assets all the way to the endpoint of multidimensional threat analysis. Today, we'll cover some of the key features and highlights. When Hillstone's WAF is initially turned on, it leverages its auto discovery capability to detect inbound traffic across interfaces and instantly registers web servers whose IP addresses are within the predefined range you've delineated. As you can see, this capability makes the WAF solution highly scalable. It's similar to how CloudHive, our microsegmentation solution, is able to perform asset discovery automatically. Upon discovery, you can name them accordingly. Our WAF operates with a dual detection engine, which encompasses semantics analysis and rule matching. Rule matching is essentially a signature database, which can be automatically updated with our threat intelligence database if the option is selected to do so. Hillstone WAF supports mitigation rules such as BDOS as well, meaning it provides traffic anomaly detection and on-the-fly signature creation based on those detected anomalies to immediately stop future DOS from occurring. Semantic analysis works hand in hand with AI machine learning to analyze logs from a context-based perspective. To explain the importance of context, let's use the phrase, "hello there," as an example. If you're saying, "hello there," To a cute little puppy who just waddled over while wagging his tail, it'll be a sweet and cherished moment. If "hello there" is iterated by a cop after he just caught you snooping around in his police car, you better call your lawyer or hope for the best. See, context matters a lot. What adds to the legitimacy of our semantic analysis is the fact that we are an industry leader in implementation of AI and machine learning. The more time your AI has been running and learning, the more advanced and intelligent it will be when acting on the unknown threats. The traditional WAF general protection rules and policies can be implemented. Additionally, when the WAF is initiated, it'll begin to auto-learn traffic behavior to create a baseline of what is deemed normal traffic. From there, it will flag traffic that veers too far from what the general rules and scripts have outlined it to be. The way WAF auto-learns traffic policies is similar to the way a whitelist is set up. Anti-defacement is the process by which we ensure our web pages have not been illegally altered without approval. The way we monitor this is by essentially keeping a cached version of the website as a baseline, and then comparing versions of the web page to that baseline model. If changes are significant enough or appear to be malicious, they would be flagged as abnormal, and users will be notified to review such pages. Seeing that injection attacks are still high up on the OWASP top 10, you will see in our demo later, we have extensive coverage on all types of injection attacks. An injection attack is when a user is able to enter in an input that bypasses the coding that exists behind the scenes. By doing so, they are able to enter into the account without possessing the proper username and password. This is very similar to the idea of buffer overflow, where you input something that messes with the code and causes it to malfunction or read a part of the code that isn't usually accessed. Hillstone's WAF stops such attacks in many ways. For starters, it is able to one-way hash inputted data and encrypt it, which means even if malicious hackers obtain the username and password information, they would just receive an obscure string of characters that are the equivalent of gibberish. By leveraging timely injections of JavaScript, the WAF is able to encrypt data. An example is if someone inputs their username and password, JavaScript can be injected in, encrypting the username and password information, such that if a hacker was trying to log keystrokes, they would not receive the proper keystrokes. Instead, they would just receive a string of jumbled characters. As web applications are used exponentially more than the past, the use of APIs also becomes more and more crucial because it allows applications to speak directly to each other, thereby speeding up many processes. For example, like checkout processes. The vulnerability of this convenience, however, is that APIs have blueprints that are readily available. This is because developers need to know how an API works in order to integrate it with other APIs. On the developer side, they should consider implementing more zero-trust ideas to divide up the authentication tokens appropriately. But for the times that they don't, our WAF can help greatly because it's capable of noting down which vectors are being used for these API attacks. If we can at least see where the attacks are coming from, it'll be a lot easier to defend against and monitor. In addition to the API protection protocols and procedures that can be taken, there are also compliance standards utilizing scheme validation. For example, you can import open API files, such as JSON, YAML, or YML, and then validate them to make sure they will operate properly. Multi-dimensional threat analysis is a systematic, extendable, and modular approach of classifying threats and quantitatively analyzing the information systems based on the threat classification module that has been specified. Quite a mouthful, huh? Don't worry. Put simply, this just means the WAF is able to evaluate a threat from multiple dimensions, i.e. time of threat occurrence, location of threat occurrence, behavior surrounding the threat occurrence, length of the attack, etc. With the ability to view threat data in these different forms and more, a roadmap for how best to move forward can easily be formulated. Aggregated logs help you compare with events that have transpired in the past. You can make adjustments accordingly by taking historical events into account. For example, in the famous fable, The Boy Who Cried Wolf, though the boy would continue to pull the alarm and cry wolf, the village started to recognize which ones might be fake. By having aggregated logs and semantic analysis, false positives are more likely to be eliminated. The first word of our mission statement, see, understand, and act, is see. So as you can see, we place a huge emphasis on the ability to see with our granular visibility in all of our products. Because the WAF has an SSL proxy, it is able to inspect HTTP and decrypt HTTPS traffic, allowing it to inspect both types of traffic for malicious threats. Another thing that it is capable of is the SSL offloading. This is when the WAF will perform the SSL decryption instead of the server, as decryption of SSL can be CPU intensive. SSL proxy, on the other hand, is where all communication will be done within the WAF, which is why it's classified as a proxy, aka a stand-in. As we are all aware of, we have long gone past the number of devices that can be supported by IPv4, and we've moved on to IPv6 configurations. Unfortunately, it can be very pricey to straight up convert IPv4 into IPv6. As such, we've created a proxy that can temporarily convert IPv4 into a format readable by IPv6. You can also convert IPv6 to IPv4. Essentially, our WAF makes IPv4 and IPv6 effectively interchangeable. This will be a cost-effective solution of ensuring compatibility of IP versions. A single WAF isn't always enough to handle heavy traffic flow, which is where the ADC, our application delivery controller, can come in and assist. Hillstone's ADC can help distribute traffic to the WAF service pool, which consists of multiple WAFs. With the ADC, it would be easier to scale up or scale down quickly. We will quickly go through the different deployment modes that are available. The main one we do want to focus on is a reverse proxy though, because that is the traditional mode known as inline deployment. It is usually the deployment mode of choice because a reverse proxy allows for direct protection of the origin server or database. Clients and users will not be able to communicate directly with the server or database because they instead have to now communicate with the reverse proxy deployed WAF. That being said, we also support one-arm nodes to ensure continuity of business flow and can also add a tap mode for peer monitoring. Or you can even add a tap mode and integrate a Hillstone next-gen firewall to work in tandem with the WAF. I will stop sharing my screen briefly now to get the demo set up, and we'll have a walkthrough for the demo of our WAF solution. All right, see, there we go. And here it is. Just wanted to get a very quick check-in to make sure we currently see a Hillstone Networks logo. Is that correct? I'll just wait for a confirmation from chat. Looks like it. All right, great. Then we are good to go. Let's get started. All right, so Without further ado, we'll start to take a look at the Hillstone WAF's demo with the user interface. The WAF can be deployed as hardware or can be deployed as a virtual machine, which we colloquially call VWAF. Hillstone's VWAF specifically can support major virtualization platforms such as VMware, KVM, Xen, and OpenStack. Or it can be deployed in the cloud, including AWS, AliCloud, Azure, and others. On this main screen of the Hillstone WAF's user interface, we will talk about the virtual machine instance to delineate the core features of our web application firewall. At the first glance, the tabs we have at the top are Dashboard, Site, Policy, Report and Logs, Network, and System. Now let's take a closer look at the dashboard. The dashboard is the central monitoring system. We can see the two general tabs we can choose from are Threats and System. In the Threats section, we can see details like severity, statistics on protected sites, where the attacks originally originated from, as well as the type of threat that occurred. In the System section of the dashboard, we can see details on the system itself, such as the traffic, or we can look at the system information. In the Site section, there is an overview of the protected sites and a bunch of other configuration sections. Let's focus on the site configuration section on the sidebar. Here, we can define the sites we want to protect. We can protect HTTP and HTTPS sites. For an HTTP site, we'd have to define the IP address, port, site IP, and domain name, as well as configure policies. If we are deploying the WAF in the reverse proxy mode, we can also additionally configure load balancing. The Hillstone WAF is capable of SSL decryption, which is why it can analyze HTTPS traffic as well. Next, we can configure the site acceleration, includes cache compression, reusing TCP connections as well. In addition, we can configure anti-defacement. Select the learning mode, enter the default page, and select the content that needs to be learned. Now, in protection mode, WAF will possess a cache version of what is going on. Moving on, server health check, and now to error page customization, which allows us to customize what content we wish to display for the end user. On the left-hand side section, we can view threat details, web page change history, as well as configure blacklist, exception rules, and even structure auto learning. Now let's look at the policy section. Policies are the heart of the WAF configuration. There are three types of policies available: access control policies, security policies, and auto learning policies. The access control policy configuration is for implementing application level security, and we can configure based off the HTTP method, content type, header, version, and URL path. To make it easier to create policies, we have built-in templates for security policies. When creating a new policy, we can choose a template, create a name, select a database, and select a framework. This will help generate the best optimized policies. To configure the protection rule, the WAF has dozens of rules such as DDoS, cross-site scripting, injection attacks, etc. As injection attacks are highly popular in today's cybersecurity climate, we'll take a deeper look at it. Injection types have many subtypes, such as SQL, XPath, XML, and others. Under each subtype, we can further segment based on attack feature and delineate a specific response. For example, under regex binary SQL injection attacks, we can configure the block action to be a one-time block, a permanent block, or a block during a certain time frame. Now, let's take a look at the auto learning policy. Once the WAF goes live, it'll start to auto learn traffic behavior. Based on the traffic, it can build a baseline model and evolve the model as it learns. If traffic veers too far from the baseline, it will be flagged as abnormal traffic, and admin will be notified to examine in more detail. The auto learning policy works in tandem with the security policy. Whereas security policies are more akin to blacklisting, auto learning policies are akin to whitelist policies. Under rule management, there are predefined rules, but you can also configure customized rules for your specific needs. For example, we just created a new user-defined rule, admin PHP. This rule blocks all users from accessing admin.php. When the WAF confronts an access request to this page, it will block it. Moving on, let's take a look at the report and log section. First word of our mantra is C. So yes, we have extensively granular logs available. To start off, you should probably take a look at the web security log, which can be viewed easily in multiple ways. Click Do Not Merge. From there, you can choose to view by protection type based on the policies and rules you created, or by the client IP. If we choose client IP, moving on, let's take a look at all detected threats that are related to the specific IP addresses. If we choose protection type, we can view all of the rules categorized by type. If we click into injection attack, we can see the number of instances of this type of attack. We can also click into details to view granular log report specifics, which will outline the vector of the attack and let you know even further details. Now, let's look at the network. In this section, we can find some basic networking and routing information. The system section is where global configuration can be set for the WAF, including in which mode it will be deployed. Currently, it is deployed in reverse proxy mode, but it can also be deployed in one ARM reverse proxy and some other modes as well. From a business continuity and high availability standpoint, Hillstone's WAF supports both active-passive and active-active modes. Our WAF can be integrated with HSM, our centralized security management platform, by sharing log reports to the management agent, as you can see here. Hillstone's HSM agent enables you to manage multiple WAFs. It can be managed via CloudView, which is the cloud-based security operation platform. Just simply select Enable and select which logs will be shared. This here shows an upgrade management menu where you have the option of having the signature database be updated automatically. I hope this demo of the Hillstone Network's web application firewall was informative and showing how we help our clients see, understand, and act. As always, thank you all so much for joining us today for our today's webinar on WAF. I will now open the floor for questions and take a look through any questions that were submitted beforehand or through the Q&A portion. I know for last month, we had the opportunity to take a look through, we had some poll options, but for this month, we thought it might not be the best fit for WAF, but don't worry, next month, the polling questions may be back again. Okay, so let's first look through the questions that were submitted earlier. There are many versions of this question being asked. Oh, by the way, and for the questions, as always, I will be joined by our technical marketing manager, Li Chun, who is in the chat. He'll be joining me today, and we'll take a look through this. So the first question that we have is essentially asking about what is a distinguishing factor about our WAF? And I'll let Li Chun take this.
Our I think dual detection engine is a big distinguished feature by leveraging both our innovative semantic analysis and the standard-based, signature-based database detection that we can greatly lower the chance of the false positive and protect the web assets effectively.
All right, awesome. The next one is a question that I see in chat. It is asking, does the WAF have dynamic defense, parentheses, without signature?
Right. So as I mentioned, we have semantic analysis for like SQL injections and cross-site scripts. And we also have machine learning capability that can automatically adjust the policy and learn those user behaviors to auto-tune our machine learning model. And for temporary web page temporaring, we also can support the protection of the dynamic contents.
Yes, I believe we have dynamic and static defense. Okay, the next question that I see is asking, how does your WAF stand with active passive modes? And specifically, this person was asking in relation to some of the other competitors, since some competitors require that firewalls be only deployed in active modes. But go ahead, Hllstone. What are your thoughts on this one?
Right. Hillstone WAF have the active passive support for the system's high availability, and we also support active pair mode as well. So yeah, for the high availability, we have very powerful offerings.
Okay. And one more, I really like this question. I think this person is thinking under the right mindset, considering how to have a unified security approach. This person is asking, what other devices does the Hillstone WAF sync with? And does it work in tandem with?
Right. Hillstone does have some other products that can work together with Hillstone WAF that offer a complete and comprehensive solutions. First, as you mentioned in the slides, and that Hillstone WAF can be managed by the HSM, which is Hillstone Security Management Platform for centralized device management and log management. Secondly, Hillstone WAF can be work together with CloudView to have a synchronization about the logs and the threat intelligence as well. And it can so Hillstone's WAF scalability performance can be improved by leveraging our application delivery controllers capability, as you introduced in your slides, that we can set up a WAF pool for the high throughput requirement.
Great. Yes, some of these, in regards to how the Hillstone WAF syncs with other devices, this was something we covered briefly through the deck earlier about syncing with HSM, syncing with the ADC. Then one more question. I believe this person is asking, when will Hillstone have the WAF appliance? I think this person is referring to, when will the Hillstone WAF be ready for purchase? Or when will it be available?
For the currently, we have virtual machine-based web application firewall offerings, and for the hardware based appliance, we are preparing for the launch So I think probably next year. So stay tuned. We will update you once we have more informations.
Great. I see another. We have questions flying in from all different mediums. In the chat, we have a question of, are there any challenges of integration with other vendors? I think this is in response to the fact that it talks about how it integrates with Hillstone products.
Well, it's a very broad question. I think that basically it depends on the what kind of integration you are looking for. Probably like I would take example that if you would like to centralize the managed by other vendors, centralized management platform, then probably you need to make sure that we have compatible APIs that can work together. So yeah, it depends on different vendors' offerings.
I think if there is interest in integration with other vendors, that's definitely something we can look into, and definitely feel free to, we'd be happy to reach out and set up an opportunity to chat more. Okay, I will stay online for a few more minutes to see if any other questions are flowing in. Feel free to keep them coming. In the meantime, let me share the final slide deck. This is just showing the, in case you want to reach out, we have, it's inquiry@hllstonenet.com. Just 1 second while I put this up here. Okay, and let's go to Yep, if you have any questions, you can definitely reach out to us through this phone number or inquiry@hllstonenet.com. We'd be more than happy to try and help out. Again, thank you so much, everybody, for joining us tonight. And we hope to see you again for the next one. And we're very happy to, we hope we're able to start a conversation with you all. Thank you again for joining us.